Major update, a cop who fatally shot a black man in the back gets a mistrial. I'm going to give you a reminder of that fatal shooting. Here it is.
Let go of the taser!
6010, how many cars you got going?
Drop the taser!
Everyone.
Get back! Get back!
Put up the picture full mass. In an update, a judge declared a mistrial this week after a jury could not reach a unanimous verdict in the trial of Christopher Schurr, a former Michigan cop who was charged with murder for the shooting death of a 26-year-old black male named Patrick Lyoya. This was April 2022. The cop was being tried for second-degree murder after fatally shooting this man in the back of the head. Cell phone video and body cam footage showed the cop struggling with the black male on the lawn of a home during a traffic stop. Authorities said Lyoya, who was an immigrant to America, managed to grab hold of the cop's taser. In the end, the cop climbed on top of his suspect, who was face down on the ground, fired one fatal shot to the back of the 26-year-old's head. Ended everything right there. Okay? Now, the prosecutors, they got it right. Prosecutors looked at it, investigated. They say this is murder. This is murder. You were not being a cop. You committed murder. The attorneys for the cop, Schurr's attorneys, staked their case on a self-defense claim, arguing that because the man had control of the cop's taser during the struggle, this became a self-defense dynamic. Prosecutors argued that Officer Schurr's lethal actions amounted to just excessive force. Jurors heard testimony from policing experts, eyewitnesses, investigators, and the cop also took the stand. Use of force experts, whom defense attorneys called to the stand, argued that the officer was well within his rights to use deadly force after Lyoya had control of his taser. Police experts called by the prosecution argued that the cop acted improperly during the encounter. When you have these experts, and this is where the criminal justice system favors the people with the most money. When you have experts, you have to pay them. You have to pay them. They come in, they say a narrative after they're qualified by the judge based on their expertise, and they get to say a narrative. They can't speak to facts that they're not aware of. They can only speak to things like industry standard, et cetera. So if you have experts that say to a jury, I'm a cop or I've been in the industry 20, 30 years, what that cop did is completely legit, and they continue to bring these individuals. The fact that you still have a mistrial, the fact that you still cannot get a not guilty for this cop says how damning the evidence was for the jury. So after prosecutors rested the case, Schurr's defense filed a motion for a mistrial, okay? Arguing that their subject matter experts relied on outdated policies about tactical procedures in their testimonies. The judge overseeing the case rejected that motion, stating that she does not believe that the expert's testimony rises to the level of requiring a mistrial. But the court proceedings ended in mistrial anyway, May 8th, when the jury announced it could not reach a unanimous verdict after roughly 20 hours of deliberation. So let's put it up full mass. Interesting saga. A virtual news conference that included Mr. Lyoya's family said they were, quote, extremely disappointed by the trial result and said they were, quote, reborn of the wound of his death. Another quote, the image of my son being killed, it came back again, end quote. Mr. Lyoya's father, Peter, said in his native tongue via a family translator, according to Wood, quote, we are fighting and we thought we were getting to the close of this case and we're going to get the justice. I want to say that the hung jury hurt my family, my wife. We are bleeding. We are in pain. Keep that up. When these things happen to human beings in our country, we sometimes forget that the narrative doesn't end nor begin with that moment of crisis. The look of sadness and hurt and pain is on their faces, and all they're seeking is justice. They know you can never return the young man you took. To the family, our heart, our prayers, our thoughts are with you. And I understand being disappointed in the hung jury, but a hung jury, as a reminder, does not stop the prosecutor from bringing this case back. Double jeopardy is not attached. A hung jury also means that you had members of that jury who said this cop was guilty as hell. The mother said that she was waiting for the officer to apologize to her family when he was testifying. But she felt like he showed no remorse, saying, quote, it seemed like he only killed an animal. That's how he presented himself. Dorcas Lyoya said through a translator. The Detroit Free Press reported, quote, I didn't give up on my son, and we're not going to be tired until we find justice for our son, she added. A prosecutor, Chris Becker, said he spoke to some of the jury members who said their stalemate was the result of indecision about the dangers the taser posed during the struggle and the totality of the circumstances compared to the moment that Mr. Lyoya was shot. Ultimately, they could not determine if the death was murder. Becker added that he has not yet determined to retry the case in front of a new jury, stating, quote, it's a process and I'm not going to rush it. Officer Schurr's lead defense attorney said the cop is grateful that he wasn't found guilty, but is disappointed by the lack of resolution. He's still complaining. He also said they would oppose any efforts to try the case again. Quote, this is not winners and losers in this case. Christopher Schurr never wanted to take a life, end quote. He also said, quote, I guarantee you, he is the nicest man. And this is the most difficult thing he's ever had to deal with. That decision in that split second, we cannot declare victory because there really is no winning here. A man died. And that is a very serious thing, end quote. He spent 90% of his rhetoric about how good of a person the cop is. And then 10%, maybe less, but a man is dead, and that's important too. The mistrial incited, a large demonstration, obviously, in Grand Rapids, where protesters called on the prosecutor to move forward with the retrial after gathering outside the courthouse. To the prosecutor, Becker, you got to bring this case back. Prosecutors are able, defense attorneys can do it too. They can poll the jury. The jury has told you what the issue was. The issue wasn't the experts. The experts basically canceled each other out, confused the hell out of everybody, so you just get rid of the experts. The issue was, and this is an important note for the prosecutor, the issue for them was the lethal or non-lethal functionality of the taser. That's the argument. They're telling you how to win the case the next time. I would encourage you, Mr. Becker, when you present this case the second time, remind the jury that a taser is a non-lethal device. As a matter of fact, it's so non-lethal that in order to be taser certified, you must be tasered yourself. Cops who are taser certified have to be tasered in the basic training because it is a non-lethal device. If that doesn't work, remind them that the Supreme Court, U.S. Supreme Court, ruled that tasers are non-lethal devices. And if that argument doesn't work, bring in the manufacturer of said taser, who explicitly say that the taser is a non-lethal defense device. All right, Jackson, thoughts here?
Well, yeah, I mean, the whole defense of him being the nicest man is completely irrelevant to what he did in the moment and to what happened in this instance. Because this isn't some simple mistake or some interpersonal relationship mistake. He took a man's life. The bottom line is he could have shot him anywhere else. If you felt that you really had to pull out your gun, you could have shot him in the leg, the arm, the foot, anywhere non-lethal. I'm sure they're trained to do that. I don't see why they wouldn't be. They're also trained to take lives, obviously. But no matter how you look at it, this was a situation that just did not need to happen. And obviously, society would be so much more efficient if this was not an issue within law enforcement. If the general public felt that they, wouldn't possibly end up in a situation like this. Society itself will function so much more smoothly. But there's no excuse for shooting somebody in the back of the head over something non-lethal.
Yeah, and we shall see. I would recommend this prosecutor to bring it back.